Welcome back to Unstable TV! And you're through to Irish Couple Reacts. And do stay tuned because this happens every week.
So if you're new here, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment and hit the bell notification so you don't miss any of these videos. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you! So we were asked on our Twitter a couple of weeks ago. So all our social medias are in the description if you want to give us a follow. Now we were asked to check out Star-Spangled Banner as you've never heard it.
Big shout out to everyone on the social medias that did tell us to check this out. So without further ado, let's get going! Woo!
As we've never heard it before.
This is our fourth time hearing this, so let's hear this.
Nice strong start.
There was a lawyer once. His name was Francis Scott Key. He penned a song that I'm sure you're aware of. You've seen it. It's in most hymnals throughout our churches. It's called the National Anthem. It is our song as an American. We go, however, to a ball game. We stand in our church services and we sing the words of that song, and they float over our minds and our lips, and we don't even realize what we're singing. Most of us have memorized it as a child, but we've never really thought about what it means. Let me tell you a story. Francis Scott Key was a lawyer in Baltimore. The colonies were engaged in vicious conflict with the mother country, Britain. Because of this conflict and the protractedness of it, they had accumulated prisoners on both sides. The American colonies had prisoners and the British had prisoners. And the American government initiated a move. They went to the British and they said, let us negotiate for the release of these prisoners.
Okay.
They said, we want to send a man out to discuss this with you. They were holding the American prisoners in boats about 1,000 yards offshore. And they said, we want to send a man by the name of Francis Scott Key. He will come out and negotiate to see if we can make a mutual exchange. On the appointed day, in a rowboat, he went out to this boat and he negotiated with the British officials. And they reached a conclusion that men could be exchanged on a one-for-one basis.
Oh, dude.
Francis Scott Key, jubilant with the fact that he'd been successful, went down below in the boats, and what he found...
I like the way it started by saying that, because I think this goes for a lot of national anthems. You sing the lyrics, but you don't actually think about what's behind it.
You don't really realise the sacrifice that came from it and how the country actually built on top of this and its foundation, especially with America, of the lengths the men and women and children went to make the country what it is today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also didn't know a lawyer wrote this song.
Yeah, that was very...
It's a bit random.
Yeah, I always thought like it was the forefathers, you know, because we're Irish, we're not American, so we don't know the history as clear as you guys over there, but I assume it was the forefathers. That's what I thought. But much to our discovery here, it's very like the way Irish history was built with negotiating with the British. So there you go. It looks like Irish and the Americans do have a lot more in common than we thought. So we'll let you away when you say yeah, and jump back into it.
Found was a cargo hold full of humanity, men. And he said, men, I've got news for you tonight. You're free. He said, tonight I have negotiated successfully your return to the colonies. He said, you'll be taken out of this boat, out of this filth, out of your chains. As he went back up on board to arrange for their passage to the shore, the admiral came and he said, we have a slight problem. He said, we will still honor our commitment to release these men, but it'll be merely academic after tonight. It won't matter. And Francis Scott Key said, what do you mean? He said, well, Mr. Key, he said, tonight we have laid an ultimatum upon the colonies. Your people will either capitulate and lay down the colors of that flag that you think so much of, or you see that fort right over there, Fort McHenry? He said, we're going to remove it from the face of the earth. He said, how are you going to do that? He said, if you will, scan the horizon of the sea. And as he looked, he could see hundreds of little dots. And he said, that's the entire British war fleet. He said, all of the gunpowder, all of the armament is being called upon to demolish that fort. It will be here within striking distance in a matter of about 2.5 hours. He said, the war is over. These men would be free anyway. He said, you can't shell that fort. He said, that's a large fort. He said, it's full of women and children. He says, it's predominantly not a military fort. He said, don't worry about it. They said, we've left them a way out. And he said, what's that? He said, do you see that flag way up on the rampart? He said, we have told them that if they will lower that flag, the shelling will stop immediately. And we'll know that they've surrendered, and you'll now be under British rule. Francis Scott Key went down below and told the men what was about to happen. And they said, how many ships? He said, hundreds. The ships got closer. Francis Scott Key went back up on top and he said, men, I'll shout down to you what's going on as we watch. As twilight began to fall, and as the haze hung over the ocean as it does at sunset, suddenly the British war fleet unleashed. He says the sound was deafening. There were so many guns that there were no reliefs. He said it was absolutely impossible to talk or hear. He said suddenly the sky, although dark, was suddenly lit. And he says from down below, all he could hear the men, the prisoners, saying
that was ruthless.
Tell us where the flag is. What have they done with the flag? Is the flag still flying over the rampart? Tell us. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours into the shelling. Every time the bomb would explode and it would be close to the flag, they could see the flag in the illuminated red glare of that bomb, and Francis Scott Key would report down to the men below, it's still up. It's not down.
Putting it down would mean surrender, wouldn't
The admiral
it?
came and he said, your people are insane.
Staying
He said,
strong.
what's the matter with them? He said, don't they understand this is an impossible situation? Francis Scott Key said he remembered what George Washington had said. He said the thing that sets the American Christian apart from all other people in the world is he will die on his feet before he'll live on his knees.
That's powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's power right there. That quote alone would drive the morale through the roof.
I mean,
Shelling a fort.
that was... Like, realistically, what could you do there? Because you're not just going to give up your country. You're not, you're not just going to put the flag down and let them just come in and take it.
No, sure, after going to the effort and building the effort of getting an independent country, even when Francis said to them about women and children in that fort, you can't do that. The ruthlessness of the British to just lay down and just fire and shell the fort, that's disgusting.
They just didn't care.
No.
They were just trying to get as much of the world as they could. And they got a lot.
Irish included.
Before anybody says anything, we do understand the American history as well. We're not taking away from what happened there either.
Yeah.
We're just specifically talking about this.
But a powerful quote and a powerful force to be reckoned with, the American people here. Mm-hmm. And even from the standpoint to stand from the country where it is now to where it came to be, to see how much that was sacrificed here. Regardless of the shelling and everything, they still flew the flag. They didn't stop.
Didn't give up.
And that's power in itself right there. A dangerous thing to do. That could have been a full eradication. People are always the strongest.
Yeah, absolutely. They could have easily turned around and said, no, just take it down.
Yeah.
So.
And that alone would inspire you to move forward.
Yeah.
The admiral said, we have now instructed all of the guns to focus on the rampart to take that flag down. He said, we don't understand something. Our reconnaissance tells us that flag has been hit directly again and again and again, and yet it's still flying. We don't understand that. But he said, now we're about to bring every gun for the next 3 hours to bear on that point. Francis Scott Key said the barrage was unmerciful. All that he could hear was the men down below praying. The prayer. God, keep that flag flying where we last saw it. Sunrise came. He said there was a heavy mist hanging over the land, but the rampart was tall enough. There stood the flag, completely nondescript, in shreds. The flagpole itself was at a crazy angle, but the flag was still at the top.
What a sight to see on the horizon.
Francis Scott Key went aboard and immediately went into Fort Henry to see what had happened. And what he'd found had happened was that that flagpole and that flag had suffered repetitious direct hits. And when hit had fallen, but men, fathers, who knew what it meant for that flag to be on the ground, although knowing that all of the British guns were trained on it, walked over and held it up humanly until they died. Their bodies were removed and others took their place.
Oh my God.
Francis Scott Key said what held that flagpole in place at that unusual angle were patriots' bodies. He penned the song, "Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? Or the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that the flag was still there."
That's amazing.
Oh, say, does that Star-Spangled Banner yet fly?
You still get chills when you hear that today.
Or the land of the free and the home of the brave? The debt was demanded. The price, it was paid.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early
The feeling of that song, it does make you shed a tear.
what so
It's hard to not get emotional listening to it.
proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets spread clear, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that Star-Spangled Banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Oh, say, does that Star-Spangled Banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
First off, a very big shout out to the original content creator. Do make sure you go check them out, give them a like, subscribe and share and all of that good YouTube stuff. At the end there, a very, very beautiful rendition of America's National Anthem and the Star-Spangled Banner. And yes, 100%, it is like we've never heard it before. Personally, I prefer hearing it over in America when you're in the stadiums with the crowds, all the people singing it, because it is the people that unite the country. And it's beautiful when you hear all the Americans singing it together with the hand on the heart, and just the harmonies between each other, and just the actual people that make the country where it is singing it and hitting the notes so perfect together. That's unity in itself, and that's what makes it United States right there. What did you think about that, Danielle?
It's nice to know the historical meaning behind it, because, I mean, there's always going to be a historical meaning behind each and every country's national anthem and how it became to be what it was. And yeah, I didn't know it was by a lawyer. I didn't know it was written about battle. There was a lot of stuff in there that I didn't know, and it gives it more of a meaning, and it gives you more of an understanding as to why that's the national anthem. And that's amazing.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants us to check out more videos on American history, you can drop them down below, because there's a lot of history from America that we don't learn.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the USA side and the Native American side, because it's all the American history. And it's important for everybody to know. Like I said, it is important for everybody to know the meaning behind the national anthem.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it was a horrible, horrible battle that happened. And they came out on top. And they lost a lot of people.
The nature of the battle, we don't learn that extent in the school. Like, we're taught predominantly about the American Civil War and the Boston Tea Party. We didn't really hear about this in our history books. Now, that may have changed since we've been in school. Also empowering that the people never gave up, because at the end of the day, we can say generals and whatever we like, but it was the people that got America to where it was. And without the people, no country would be as big as it is. Of course, we'd love to hear your opinions. If you're an American yourself, what's your history like? And is this taught in your history books, or did you have to look this up outside of school? Of course, anyone else around the world globally, what's your opinion on this video? How do you feel after this video? Did you learn anything new? Did you not learn something new? If there's something you'd like to debate in the comment section, we'd love to talk to you down there. Certainly, we've learned a lot here.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of historical meaning behind that.
Yeah. We didn't know that was the background of the song, because you do hear that, and I always have wondered, and I'm sure yourself you've wondered as well.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's such a massive song, and everybody around the world knows the national anthem of America. So now we know the reason behind it. Yeah,
it's definitely, it does bring a tear to the eye. It's very emotional. Like, it's hard to keep the tears back when you hear it. So even to know the emotional background to it, you know, it hits the notes even harder when you hear it. It's one thing hearing a song, but when you understand the story of why it was written, it really does drive the emotions on the heartstrings.
We'd love to hear everyone's opinion about this throughout the world, whether you knew it or not. And if you want to check the description boxes as well for our social medias or any of our links, or if you want to like this video, and there's a super thanks there if you want to check that out too.
And that has been our 2 cents, and we will chop ourselves out of it.
As always, you are the beautiful people of YouTube, and we have been Unstable TV.
So drop a comment below and let us know what you thought of this reaction video. And if you have any suggestions for us to do, let us know too.
And as always, we will see you in the next one.